Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to solve questions from reading quiz chapter 11 and also some Edfinity questions. Let's start with the first question. Antitrust laws make it more difficult to achieve pure competition, give the government the power to block certain mergers or break up large firms, so this option is correct, not the first one. Often result in people going to jail when broken, were implemented by the federal government to outlaw trusts. So the right answer is the second option. Question 2. Which is often the result of regulatory capture? So the regulatory capture happens when actually government regulates an industry. The firm tries to keep the officials or people, hire people, to have an influence on the decisions of this regulatory board. So we need to find out the result of regulatory capture. Individuals who violate regulations are captured and sent to jail. This is not correct. Industries are better regulated, increasing output, keeping prices low, and limiting competition. That's actually the ideal result, but it doesn't happen. Government price regulation becomes a way for existing competitors to work together to reduce output, keep prices high, and limit competition. This is the right answer. Question number 3. How would you calculate a 4-firm concentration ratio? To find 4-firm concentration ratio, you need to sum the market shares of the 4 largest firms. Question 4. How would you calculate the HHI for an industry? For HHI, you are going to square the market shares of each firm in the industry and then sum them up. Question 5. What is the most controversial aspect of antitrust regulation? It's actually the market. Defining the market is the most controversial aspect because now with the increasing globalization, firms are facing more competition, and sometimes a firm could be seen as a monopoly, but if you broadly define the market, then the firm market share drops down. So for that reason, defining a market is the most controversial aspect of antitrust regulation. Question 6. Restrictive practices are characterized as: these are the practices that reduce competition without an agreement to raise price or reduce quantity. So for instance, the companies fix the prices, but they don't come to an agreement or sit on a table to make that decision. This could happen by smaller companies following the price decisions of the bigger companies and some other restrictive practices. Question 7. The Microsoft antitrust case covered in your textbook embodies many of the gray areas in restrictive practices. Antitrust regulators accused Microsoft of numerous offenses. What was the end result? Microsoft appealed a federal court decision to break up the company and reach a settlement with the government that it would end its restrictive practices. So the restrictive practice in the Microsoft case was that Microsoft is selling its operating systems with the Internet Explorer. The browser was included in the product, so that creates an anti-competitive environment for the companies in that industry. Question 8. Your textbook covered 4 possible ways to deal with a natural monopoly. Which approach would be best for consumers? Regulators would force the monopolies to set its price equal to its marginal cost. This is good for consumers, but most of the cases, marginal cost is lower than average total cost for a natural monopoly. Therefore, the firm is making losses when regulators set the price equal to marginal cost. Regulators would split the monopolies into 2 competing firms. Then the average total cost is increasing if you split these firms into smaller firms, and therefore consumers have to pay higher prices. Regulators would allow the monopolies to continue with no government regulation. This will result in a high price in the market. And the last one, let the natural monopoly charge enough to cover its average cost and earn a normal rate of return. That's the best one for consumers. Question 9. In cost plus regulation, regulators calculated the average cost of production, added in an amount for the normal rate of profit the firm should expect to earn, and set the price for consumers accordingly. In price cap regulation, the regulator sets a price that the firm can charge over the next few years. What is the problem of price cap regulation? The problem is that price cap could be set unrealistically low for the firms to survive. So therefore the second option is the correct. Question 10. Between 1926 and 1978, the federal government closely regulated the airline industry. What happened when the industry was deregulated? Some airlines went bankrupt and the new companies entered in the industry. Because when you let the competition, the firms that are making profit and finding ways to lower the costs will survive, but others are not going to survive. So let's look at some questions from Edfinity, starting with question 8. The table below shows revenue data for different firms producing chairs. Use the given information to find the market share and squared value of the market share for each firm. So we are first calculating market share and then we are calculating the squared of market share. So how do we find market share? We need to sum all these output and find the industry output first. So industry output is going to be 130 plus 300 plus 160 plus 280 plus 270 plus 200. That's equal to 1340. So this is the total industry output. To find the market share, for instance, for the first company, Acme, we take the output produced by the company and then find out the percentage of output produced by this company, and that gives us the market share. So 130 divided by 1340, which is equal to, if you want by 100, you can find 9.7. So this company's market share is 9.7. And the squared market share is to the power 2, which is 94.09. And then we will do the same thing for the remaining companies. And you can continue doing that. You can find out the market share for the remaining companies. I will do one more and then you will do the rest of it on your assignment. So Buzzy, 300 divided 1340 times 100. So that is 300 divided by 1340 times 100 is 22.38. And 22.38 times 22.38 will give us 586. So this is 586 and here is 22.38. And what is the Herfindel-Hirschman index for this market? You are going to sum them up, all the market share squared. So you start with 94.09 and then add 500.86 and then continue summing all the remaining numbers. And then make a decision whether the FTC will break up the firms or not depending on the threshold values of HHI. You can check the threshold values on your textbook. So here you have the table of total revenue, marginal cost, and average costs. And using this table for a natural monopoly, we are going to answer the questions. Assuming no government intervention in this market, the equilibrium price is going to be where marginal cost equals marginal revenue. And marginal cost equals marginal revenue when the price is $58 and the quantity is 4. If the government decided to regulate and to set the price equal to average cost, then we need to find price equals ATC. And price equals ATC, when ATC is $52, then the quantity is going to increase to 6 units. In general, this type of regulation tends to cause the monopoly output to increase. As you see, it was 4 before, now it's 6 units. And its profits, we need to see how much the profits has changed. Usually the profits are going to decrease. The reason is because in monopoly case, the profit maximizing quantity is 4. By producing additional units, you're not producing the maximum profit. Therefore, the profit is going to decrease. So these are the questions from chapter 11. I hope these questions are helpful.